the single cause solution to complex and entrenched problems. I mean, we see it in climate science. Yep. We saw it during the pandemic. Just go this one course and it'll fix everything. Even before we've read the fine print, we know that's not going to be true in any field, and certainly not in one as complex as one concerning human beings.
Oh, absolutely, and particularly one that is very bound up with culture. And this is another problem that, again, we talk about closing the gap. And what do we mean by closing the gap? We mean closing the gap of disparities between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians when it comes to things like health outcomes, prosperity, education, and incarceration and things like that. But no one wants to talk about what has to be done to close the gap. And anyone who thinks about it for more than half a second has to admit that closing the gap means integrating Indigenous Australians into mainstream Australian culture. That is the only way you are going to close the gap, because the lifestyles, the prosperity, the health, the education that we enjoy today, Nick, as you well know, it is the product of a culture that has evolved over hundreds and hundreds of years of technology, ways of thinking about economics, ways of thinking about time, ways of thinking about our commitments to friends and family, our commitments to work. It all is part of Western culture. And as long as Indigenous Australians are being taught to hate Western culture, to see it as colonising, and to sort of seek strength in their own culture, in actual fact, this is going to prevent Indigenous Australians from being able to integrate into mainstream culture and thereby close the gap. So again, we kind of know a lot of the things that need to be done, but no one wants to say them. And this voice is definitely not going to say them. This voice is just going to entrench a sense of division, a sense that to improve the lives of Indigenous Australians, they need to just retreat more into their own culture. It's going to be a disaster, which again is, as a Christian, is one of the reasons I say that in terms of loving our Indigenous neighbours, we've got to vote no to this. It's really bad for them.